We just pushed it. And then the hatch is implemented in this function. Actually, the hatch is not so involved that it needs its own class. So basically, hatch is just taking a list of numbers which correspond to contributions from various hatchers, and then it gives you token batches out of them. The token batch, and you can basically create a person, and then you can associate this token batch to a person, but that person is in the scope of the simulation, not of the not of this code itself. So I'll leave anyone who's doing like cadCAD simulations to write the people, the person class, and then within the person, he can own a token batch. And this token batch can either be hatch tokens or they can be post-hatch tokens. And the token batch will tell you, depending on the date today, but you can also give it another day if you want to calculate stuff. For example, if you're in a simulation, what fraction of this batch is unlocked. So there you go. So we have here, this is our test. This basically makes sure that the entire thing is working properly. So we set up our variables. We want 6 million tokens initially to be generated from 9,000 die. This is 9,000 die.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we say here that, do I have to move this around? Yeah. So I take this function, which converts these simple integers into token batch classes. Token batch objects. And then I tell them that I want 80% of these tokens to be unlocked after 90 days. So it's all set up. And then you will get a list of token batches. You will get your list of token batches. There you go. And then as days goes on, this unlock number will go up. So hatch means that these token batches were generated during the hatching of this organization.
Mm-hmm.
And now that you have these token batches, you distribute them to your person simulation classes. And now we have an organization. The organization takes, it doesn't take that many parameters. You have to give it the sum of the hatcher contributions, which is 9,000. And then you have to say that you wanted 6 million tokens. And you want to say that the hatch tribute, but here I use a more, instead of using custom vocabulary, which I always have to think about, I like to use more direct names, even if they're longer. And I say that the fraction that goes to the funding pool is 0.3. And so I check that all the math is done properly. Does anyone not understand the math here so far in these 3 lines here?
No, I think it makes sense.
Cool. And here we have, and here the organization can report its token price. So what just happened here, down here, we can see that immediately after creating this organization, if you want to buy into this organization, these tokens will be 0.0021. And then let's say I deposit 100 die into this. Then I will get this many tokens for this particular price. Let me know if this makes sense or not. I'm just accepting whatever numbers it gives out. And now that these have been generated, the price of the tokens has gone up. And now the collateral pool is bigger by 100 DAI. See, up here it was 6,300. Now it is 6,400.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah,
And,
that's super cool.
And the vesting, is there a vesting test as well? I guess
The
that's
vesting test is the unlocked fraction here. The test hatch, assert equal, unlock fraction, different things here.
very cool. That's very cool, man. Nice work.
Thank you.
That's I'm sure that it looks like that took a lot of time.
Well, it took a lot of time to figure out the what was the correct expression of these things. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's you know it's not that complicated, but it's also not intuitive at all, or doesn't really have very many analogies that make any sense, right? So it's not like it's like something else that you can just compare it to.
I have a few questions about what an organization can do besides depositing tokens into it, burning tokens into it, and asking it for its price. Like, so an organization could vote on a proposal or turn down a proposal. I mean, vote on a proposal, and that's it, really, right? That's not much you can do.
Yeah, they can vote. That is pretty much it. Yeah. I mean, when they vote, they send money to the funding pool. They send money out of the funding pool. So, but yeah, it's pretty much just voting. I don't think there's anything else.
Okay.
I have some questions.
Sure.
I don't know if I get entirely the scope of the code. You have been implementing the hatch part and then the organization part, and the organization part what includes the entering and leaving the bonding curve and the funding pool. Okay. It is going to be connected later with the cadCAD simulation, right?
Yes.
It is not yet done.
Actually, the connecting this with the cadCAD simulation is not part of the scope of this. The idea is to make this. The idea is to have an organization, and you already know kind of how the logic works. So you basically create an organization with some logical numbers here, and then you connect this to cadCAD on your own. For instance, with the persons thing. The persons must own token batches, and the organization needs to be acted upon by some external code, which is not going to be the scope of this thing.
Okay, and the organization already prevents people from burning tokens if they cannot burn them, right?
Oh, what?
The hatch is already working when they try to burn a token
Oh, well,
because they
the
want
thing is,
to sell it.
The burn thing here takes an integer. It does not take a token batch, because the idea is that the code that's using this already validates whether or not the tokens can be burned, or how much of the token batch can be burnt, and it is not the before. Basically, the code above is responsible for making sure that the token batch is unlocked, and these tokens can be burnt before you use this function here.
Okay.
But this stuff will need to be integrated to the cadCAD sim, though, right? Like, I mean, that may not be the focus of this move, but especially like this augmented buy and sell, like these will need to be integrated into cadCAD.
Yes, it has a lot of sense. Also, because the part that we want to add new is that you cannot burn a token that you are vesting. So and this could be a new policy in the cadCAD, but this code actually is much better to because it isolates it encapsulates. I don't know which is the word in English. It makes it much easier to add layers in the, so you don't have to. Well, can you help me, Andrew?
Yeah. Why is this code much easier, Sim?
This code is much easier because in order to maintain and in order to understand, because it uses object-oriented programming, and this is why I was asking for doing the organization. Like, I guess, Andrew, that this function could be a private one if it allows to burn tokens that you cannot. But the organization itself should prevent you from burning a token that you are vesting, if that is implemented in that way.
Okay, I'll think about it.
Yeah,
but wait. I mean, the thing about the batch is that it's usually wait. Yeah. Okay, I'll think about it. What do you want to say, Griff?
Well, just on that topic, there'll definitely need to be like some kind of definition of like which number of users have how many tokens, instead of it being treated like a batch, like this is how many tokens are completely in the organization. I think for the sim, it's going to need to also know like this user has this tokens, this user has that tokens. Like each agent will need, at least my understanding of it is that each agent will need to know what they control, and there'll need to be an index of like all of these states for each agent, how many vested tokens they have, how many non-vested tokens they have, how many like what's their affinity and for each proposal. There's like this very complex state for each agent. And so with the token batching, that may not be as repeatable with the cadCAD sim as it is in this code base. That's one worry, or one like thing to keep in mind.
I'm not quite sure what you guys mean by that.
Well, so cadCAD uses agent-based simulation, and so it will take this. It'll take a time block, and it'll say like, these are the agents, these are the token holders, which are the agents, right? Each token holder is going to have a certain relationship to every proposal, right? Mm-hmm. So every proposal that's out there, they're going to have an affinity for that proposal, for instance. They're also going to have, and so there'll be this little graph of like you could almost think of it as a mapping, or what do you fucking call that? An array or whatever, a little subarray that's like, oh, these are my affinities to these proposals. And then they're also going to have a factor that's like, this is my overall appreciate. Oh man, what's it called? It starts with an S. This is how much support or sentiment. That's the one. This is my overall sentiment, right? And then that sentiment actually converts to whether or not they want to buy or sell more tokens, right? And so if their sentiment is high, it's kind of like a stoichiometric process, a random process that just says, oh, guess what? You're going to buy some tokens because one of the proposals that you really liked just went through and got voted for. So now that, as an individual agent, that makes your sentiment go up. And now that makes you in this time frame want to buy 100 tokens, right? And then, but now those tokens are not vested. So now you have this vested balance and this unvested balance. And now in the next time frame, maybe one of those proposals that you didn't like just got passed, and you're like, what the fuck, you know? So now this agent is going to sell.
Yeah, the idea is that each agent will have one token batch in the beginning, the vested token batch, and then after the hatching phase, he will have another token batch, which is the non-vested one, and then the code above needs to kind of deal with that, deal with like the funds from that. It could be, yes. I think it's good to have. I mean, it does logically make sense that an organization should take token batches as burning. But then, yeah, I'll have to figure that. I have to think more about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying that it's going to need to be written in a way where its focus is on like a token, you know, where it's like how many this agent holds these tokens. And it's okay if it's two different tokens and they have a conversion, right? There's vested tokens and that's a token batch, and then there's just free tokens, and you know, vested tokens become free tokens, or I mean, there's a million ways, I'm sure, to do this. But the goal needs to be eventually to get it in cadCAD. I think this is actually really useful though for the front end team to take and like not have to. They're not going to want to interact with cadCAD. They're going to want to take this, probably maybe convert it to JavaScript and just like. Actually, I don't know if they need to display any of this other than like the hatch raise and the hatch that stuff. So anyway,
well, actually, organizing the code in that way makes it much easier to change policies in cadCAD. Or I guess that in the front end part it's not that relevant, but having that organized in that way makes the backend much more maintainable. Also because new contributors right now with the cadCAD simulation for conviction voting need a lot of time in order to understand what is going on, because it has a lot of functions and a lot and they are not ordered in a way that somebody can understand at the first glance. But doing that in the way in which you say, okay, an organization is that. An organization can have those things and can do those things. So if you order the functions inside an organization, other functions inside a user or a participant, or other, I guess that we can go with that and do objects for proposals, objects for users, and then use those methods of those objects in order as policies in cadCAD. And I guess that it will be much easier the next time that somebody wants to participate in and read the code or contribute. It will be much easier for them. I think that it's very good to have to refactor the code and apply objects here.
Mhm.
And also with the tests. That's super cool.
Yeah, the tests are really nice. Just being able to print out, be like, yes, this makes sense. That's really nice. I do have a request, a mild request. And I think you know what it's going to be. But the funding pool fraction, it'd be really awesome if we just call that the Hatch tribute.
Okay.
And the organization should probably be a commons.
Oh yeah, makes sense.
And then and I know it's kind of like, honestly, I wish funding pool fraction was the name of the Hatch tribute in some ways, right? Because then everyone would know what the hell we're talking about. But unfortunately, there's a comms team who has a skin in the game here, and they put a lot of time into coming up with the idea is that any kind of contribution to the funding pool is a tribute because it's a contribution. And so we have these, because we didn't like the word tax. So like there's these these tributes, because you're basically, they're the donations, right? It really, I could just say hatch donation. But we wanted to kind of give homage to Moloch and the Moloch style of things where there's tributes, and there's the hatch tribute, there's the exit tribute, there could be a entry tribute, there could be like a various numbers of tributes, and it's basically, that's our verbiage. The other one I think that's relevant to here is we used the word vesting curve. I don't see.
Augmented bonding curve.
So augmented bonding curve is great, and bonding curve is great. That's all solid. But it seems like we could squeeze in vesting curve somewhere in that unlocked. Like, I don't know if that's I don't, I like the convert ADP to cliff and half-life. But maybe that's the vesting curve. I'm not really sure.
I mean, the curve, as you remember, was integrated into that thing. I think it's this one. This is the curve.
Okay, so unlocked fraction. There it is. Unlocked fraction could be the vesting curve.
But I mean, it's not just the vesting. It's the vesting and the half-life, right?
Yeah. So well, the vesting is the vesting curve is this like cliff plus half-life.
Okay.
Because as token is like, this is the curve that defines when tokens are vested or not. And it's stupid stuff, man, but I know that the comms team will love me if they can use their words in your code.
So the idea is to have custom vocabulary for our project, because this gives us more personality or something?
It's more about having aligned vocabulary.
And also because I have seen a lot of, sorry, it is to have some consistency in the vocabulary, because we are already having a lot of concepts, and there are some old code that use the previous concepts, and then it is very difficult to correlate, because sometimes it's exit tribute, sometimes it's exit tax, and it's hitting, because and sometimes it's just theta or another Greek word, and
okay,
it's much easier to understand what is going on if we use consistent naming.
And yeah, and it's also, there's like it's not a one-off thing. There's like forethought that's been put into, like I said about tribute, right? Like we say tribute because it's not just representing this fraction for this one time, but it might have other, then we can correlate all of these various things together under the term tribute, and this is the hatch tribute, and this is the exit tribute, and this is the open tribute, or this is the, yeah. So anyway, it's just
what can do you need some help from us, Andrew, and you can continue working on that, or
I mean, should I redo the token batch thing, or should I go on to the conviction voting and proposal stuff?
I would say
depends on what. Yeah,
I would say don't redo anything. If you feel like you got it in a good state, and you don't want to integrate it into cadCAD yet. I mean, maybe Sam has a more educated opinion on this, but it might be good to start playing with the cadCAD piece, since this looks complete and it feels good to you right now. Then maybe it's time to get a fresh set of eyes on something new. But maybe Sam, you have a very different opinion and it can be more educated.
Well, what I think, do what you I mean, I was just offering some some help if you need, like if you need some advice or
Well,
something.
I think I would need help about what a potential redesign of token batch and how it works should look like, and also upon the proposal and conviction voting details. That's I will need help anyway. So
Okay, I guess that the all the function in order to move to put that code in the cadCAD simulation, I guess that what is needed is to reorder the functions that there are in the conviction logic file, and I don't know if there is conviction leaf file. There are many files out there that do quite different things, and this and I mean it's a lot of work. It's a lot of understanding what each function does and get the and reorder that code into object-oriented programming, and then see how that, like it is redoing the simulation in order to do the same thing but in a much more ordered way. And I don't know if you are up for this, or you wanted to take another approach. I'm not sure.
I mean, I don't know if that's necessary, man. Like, can we have the object-oriented integrated with the current system, and we just kind of do a little conversion when they're going between?
I'd have to see like what's there first before I can say anything.
Okay.
It implements the logic of many things that you already have. I guess that you already got the augmented bonding curve logic from there, and the conviction voting is the same. The problem with that is that it's mixed with logic that is not part of conviction voting or the system itself. It's part of how you want to represent that. Like it is mixed with the
all the plots.
Yeah, all the information that you need for doing the plots. So it would be great to rewrite that part in order that it is in one part we have the objects with the logic, and in the other part we have the view, which means we get that information from interacting with those objects and doing the plots.
Could we have another call about that? Because I'm not quite understanding. Like
maybe I can do the first call and then Sem can do the second, so I can like kind of like we can go through the code together, Andrew, and pull and identify the conviction voting parts, and I can explain the like what's going on and why and the how. And then I mean, Sem, maybe if you disagree, please say it, but I want to save you some time, Sem. And so then I can kind of like set you up on a T, and then Sem can go deep into the weeds about like more of like, okay, so now that you understand really how conviction voting is working and like the goals and why, and maybe even a little bit of a cadCAD like deeper dive in like the agent-based stuff like I was talking before. And then Sem can go deep into the weeds like, oh yeah, this stuff is garbage and this is what we really care about, and we might need to rewrite that or rewrite this, because I can't say anything on that. But
yeah, I think that it is a good direction in which to go, because but at the same time it is a lot of I want to be prudent and don't do something that is too much difficult and is going to take too much time, because I am kind of thinking, I don't know. I think that it's going to be very good in the long term, and at the same time, I will not do that if we are not really interested on that, because the code as it is, it works fine, and it is like removing some technical debt. This is what we will be doing with that, in order to reorder the things that are already done and make them better.
I'm hoping we don't have to do a lot of it, but Andrew still needs to understand how to integrate into it no matter what. So I feel like if he and I have this first talk, then you and he can decide what needs to be rewritten and what can just yeah, well, let's just take out the print line around this graph and call it good, you know.
What do you think, Andrew? Are you up for that? For rewriting the code, the same code, but reordering it in.
What is the code currently? This JavaScript stuff or the Solidity stuff that you showed me?
No. It is the
Conviction
Python
3, the Conviction 3 cadCAD. It is. I can send you a link in Telegram right now.
It is all Python, and it is pretty much. There are many functions, because it's not just the simulation; it's the libraries that it imports. And
yeah, send me the link.
I guess you can get it, and then I can explain better.
I'm surprised I'm having trouble finding it. So
Conviction cadCAD 3. I think I got it.
Can you change the screen?
Wait, what are you guys seeing right now?
It should be a Python. Oh yeah,
we are seeing the IDE.
You're seeing the okay. So how the hell do I do this?
I guess you can, yeah, and now share again.
Although, Sam, did you rewrite some of this already? I mean, should we be starting with yours? No. Okay. I thought that you were hacking on a lot of this.
Well, actually, what I did was doing some part of it, but not at all. Okay. There is a server.py that, depending on what you ask, it returns you parts of the simulation. So yeah, in some way it is. I am reusing that code and offering a different server that offers a JSON API.
Well,
but it's not really rewriting.
Okay. Man, it's weird. It doesn't show up on GitHub right now.
The GitHub is acting up right now for me.
Yeah, it's not usually. Wow, yeah, it's taking too long to load. Wow, I wonder if GitHub's down. I remember last time I saw this unicorn with a mohawk, or with a rainbow mohawk, that GitHub was actually down.
Yeah, it's down.
But well, maybe can we take a pause on this and hit a few of the other topics that I just want to check in on, and then finish with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's see, I lost it though. Okay, so there are a couple things. Number one, Shebnem was the largest donor, and she wants to do the next leap on the token engineering commons, surprisingly. So that's good. The general idea, we talked about it, and the general idea would be to focus on augmented bonding curve and a service provider. So like someone who creates a proposal and then has that proposal actually feed revenue into the DAO, into the commons. So that's we might have
Can
to.
you repeat that?
So she wants to do a token engineering commons, and she would like for our simulation to focus on the augmented bonding curve. Well, I kind of told her that that's what we need to do, and but she really wants to talk about one specific proposal, and so I thought, okay, well then we talked it out, and the consensus was that we could have like a service provider, like someone who creates a proposal, and that we could kind of parameterize the creation of the proposal. So it's like they have to decide like how do they want their payouts, whether it's milestone based, and like maybe it'll just be milestone based, and it's like one milestone at the end, or is it like 5 payouts, like a little bit to start, and some milestones in the middle that they have to reach, specifically for making a token engineering commons, a token engineering textbook was the idea of this proposal. And then also the idea would be that when the textbook is sold, that money would go into the funding pool.
Okay.
So that's what she wants to do with the next one. And I don't know, I think that sounded good, but I would be curious to hear your guys' thoughts.
Who is Sebnem? And yeah, who's that?
Shebnem is a token engineering person in the token engineering community. There's already work being done to create this token engineering commons. In fact, Zargam just deployed it over the weekend, an actual DAO that's using source creds. Zargam and Barada hacked on that this weekend. So so her idea would be that she wants to basically she wants to write a token engineering textbook. And that's what, and oh yeah, and she donated the most to our proposal, to our Gitcoin grant. Just barely. She barely beat out Paulo. Which
next time Paulo has to donate more.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, you were really cutting it close. What's funny is I thought Paulo won, but I thought he made 3 donations, but one of those donations actually failed. So because he only missed it by $6, and the failed donation was $10. So, oh well.
That's life.
Yeah. So so she wants to do token engineering commons. She gets to choose that. She doesn't necessarily get to choose all the details about everything, but I figured I'd let her in on it. She's going to help us find a writer, and I think she'll be relatively active, kind of like Danny. Danny has been pretty active in it, and it's funny that the largest donor now becomes a contributor, right? So
yeah.
So this take on engineering commons is like something based on your idea of a commons as well. It's basically working the exactly same way, or what?
Yeah, I mean, we have this commons simulator is a simulation of what we call a commons, which is basically a DAO with an economy around it, specifically with a focus of creating some sort of public good. That's how I would define a commons. Like, and the value of a commons is that it's supporting a good that is non-excludable, that generally has problems like creating a business model, right? So, and that's where a commons has a special application. You could create a commons for selling hamburgers if you wanted, but like, you could also just start a company for that. So who gives a fuck? Why would you do this? But you can't really create a business for, I don't know, like public health, like, or like supporting a forest, like these things have, or open source code. It's really hard to create a business around open source code. Generally what people have to do is they have to create licensing that excludes people. And then when you have these exclusions, then you can create businesses around excludable goods, right? But if you truly have a non-excludable good, you can't have a business model. Like that's just like almost a definition in our market economy. So that's where commons have power. Yeah, so that's leap 2.
How will be the well? It's early yet.
Yeah.
Is it a global community, or will it be based on some place?
Yeah, I actually asked her to talk about that, but it would be a global community, I would think. Like I wanted her to talk about how she would imagine starting up the community, you know?
Yeah, I guess that it's all part of the story.
Yeah, who the character is, right? And like, I assume it's going to be her. And also getting us some writing support. I put her on that as well. And she seemed super down. She said she had 2 people in mind. So that's leap 2. And we're going to get the narrative started right away and just work on that without really getting any other dev work going, because maybe cadCAD, you know, if we know that we need to add this proposal stuff in, right? Like where there's a revenue stream that goes into the funding pool, that will eventually need to be added to the cadCAD.
Yeah, this is why I think this is why getting the refactoring of the code is so needed too.
Yeah.
Because it encapsulates the code. This is the word I wanted to use before. I think that it's the correct word, right? Makes the code much simpler because it adds layers. So when you want to add a new feature, you just have to change a part of it, and then it's like a black box that you can use.
The idea is to black box it.
Yeah. And so anyway, that's leap 2. I want to continue to the next topic though. It's more of an announcement anyway. And it's like anyone who wants to join, of course, can hang out with Shebnem and I as we hack out the narrative over the next couple of weeks.
We have 9 minutes, and yeah. I have here the code. I guess that we can check it out now.
Oh, let me give 2 more announcements really quick announcements. Okay. Number 1, collect your money. So Psi, specifically SEM, Psi is not going to be stable next week. They're doing an emergent. I need to just inform you that it's going to become pegged to some Ether amount in the next week. So it would be rude of me not to tell you that they're going to vote for an emergency shutdown of Psi, and you have Psi in the DApp. So it's okay, it'll just be Ether, but it might be easier to just get the Psi out and convert it to DAI, you know, and not worry about it. And hours. So we have, we just did another 2-week sprint. So Andrew, I know you put in a lot of hours. And I'm sure that other people put in some hours too. So we'll put it in the sheet. Okay, that's it.
Okay, let me see the server part of it. You see my screen, right?
Yep.
Okay. We have that conviction cadCAD 3. We have that conviction helpers and that conviction system logic. So conviction cadCAD 3 is basically the simulation. All the things that we usually, all the process, all the walkthrough of conviction voting. It creates the bonding curve, it creates the proposals, the network of participants, blah, 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 and runs cadCAD. But it imports those 2 things. One is conviction helpers that have functions regarding bonding curves and conviction. But it's super messy because it's and the network, which is a network of participants and proposals. It gets messy because of that, because it doesn't have that separation of concepts, and having that ordered in an object-oriented way will be much easier. And those are the helpers, and then we have the system logic, which is here we find the cadCAD policies, and we have to preserve those policies as they are, more or less, because they are part of the cadCAD simulation, and at the same time we can attach them to those objects that we can create now. And as you can see, it's a lot of code. Or I don't think that we should rewrite it. It's just ordering it a little bit in classes. And as you can see, there are parts that are part of the plot. So I think that we can make it much well ordered.
Yes, I was planning to express conviction voting and proposals in a different way anyway when I write them for this refactor. So I think this will come as part of the job.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean exactly? Express them in a different way?
Express them in a more object-oriented way. Perhaps for some pure math stuff, just use that as it is, and yeah.
And then the big question I always have, or that I've had for Sam for a couple of weeks, is what do you want us to use for a threshold formula, Sam? Should we change it, what's in there, or should we just go with it?
It's the demo is going to go with the current threshold formula, because with as I said last week, I don't especially like it, but for an MVP is good. And the second demo, we can change that. We can try two different formulas and see how things react. But it's not as needed as it was during, because it's not really needed to change that. We are going with the formula that we already have.
Okay, sounds good then.
So
then we will keep the log-based formula and just.
It's not the log; it's the other one. It's the square two.
But okay, but then should we change that for this? Because I think this simulation uses the square base 2, right? Or sorry,
yes,
uses. Oh, it does use square base 2. I thought it would use the log based one.
No, the log based one is not used anywhere right now, but it was used before.
Yeah.
At some point, it has been used.
But it's not in conviction 3.
No.
Okay, sounds good then.
And I think that it's yet a very interesting exercise to do. And also, when we have that commons working, I mean, I don't think that it's part of the front end or the simulator or whatever, but it will be interesting to see how proposals react to that new formula, or to that formula.
Okay.
But I think that we can do that in parallel. It is not part of the job that is required for Common Simulator.
Sounds great. I mean, if we're refactoring the code, I wanted to give that as an option, if it added value in some way, then it's like, let's do it. But it sounds good. It sounds like one less thing to do.
We are refactoring the code, and that formula is copied and pasted in many files. And I think that we can just do that its own object too, or I guess an object can be good. Like it doesn't have, or a function, I don't know.
Okay, sounds good.
I guess we can separate that from the main code. Okay,
So Sam, I assume you don't have a lot of time to give this project this week?
no, not this week. I am getting, it is getting very weird. That it is affecting me quite a lot, that situation with coronavirus.
Yeah.
And I cannot get up for, I don't know how to say.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
But you would be able to schedule a call with Andrew to like talk about some of this stuff.
Yes. Yes.
So
it is much easier for me to schedule a call right now than I am trying to fix I tried to fix that the code from the simulator, and it was like, oh, my head is not with me.
Yeah.
My head is not with me, and I cannot. It is difficult to concentrate.
Yeah, that's fair. But being social is nice.
Yeah.
Do you think do you want me to have a call with Andrew first, or what do you think?
It is as you want. I can have one call this week. So if you want to have one first, I already did some. I already introduced Andrew the conviction voting simulation one, but I guess that depends on Andrew. Andrew is not here anymore.
Oh no, we lost him.
I'm here.
Oh, good.
Okay. I think that it depends on you, Andrew. Do you want to have one call or two?
I basically want to know. I basically want to get an idea of the big things, like a big picture overview, and I just want to know enough so that I can create these classes in my mind and see how they work together. Yeah, not really looking at the individual formulas. I mean, if I get to that part, I just ask you for a link, and then you show me, you paste the link to me, and then you say, look at this function and look at that function, look at that function. Right?
I didn't get that.
I mean, I imagine that it seems like Sam is having a little bit of trouble working on his own. I'm sorry, Sam. So I think that the best strategy is for when you get to that part where you want some advice on like which functions to look at. I think you'll have better luck if you and Sam are co-located digitally.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do just one call altogether.
Okay. Well, I don't know that. Okay. I mean, I feel like if either one of us is there, Sam, that would be enough. Like we both have the big picture in mind.
Okay.
Well. So
okay.
So maybe I can skip it, and we can schedule just a big picture call with Andrew that can go into the weeds if it needs to.
So what do we do?
What time zone are you in, Andrew? Or you're in Berlin?
I'm in Berlin.
So then, really, what times work best for you guys this week?
Oh,
I guess at the evening.
Tomorrow's okay. Tomorrow, anytime afternoon is okay. Or evening, there is a call with Cosmos, so can't do that. That's not a call; it's a live stream. Oh yeah, the day after tomorrow, I'm free.
Thursday.
I think I would prefer on Friday.
Okay.
The day after tomorrow, you mean, is sorry. The day after tomorrow is Thursday, right?
Yeah.
I would prefer that on 23.
23.
Okay.
And what time?
Is it okay then? I I'm sorry, Andrew. I didn't understand very well.
What time would work well? In the afternoon sometime? 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4?
It is.
Yeah, all of these times work for me. So
Yeah, for me too. What do you
Well,
think at 5 o'clock?
okay.
5 o'clock? Can I just, so maybe I can show up, can I suggest 4?
Okay, Thursday 4.
Okay.
Does that work for you, Sam?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, cool. So I'll make the calendar event, and we can call it a day.
Okay. I have to leave, guys, but see you on Thursday.
Yeah, see you, buddy.
See you.
And Andrew, one last thing. Can we change the bye, Sam. Can we change the token price to be 10 cents
What
in the
token
hatch?
price?
In the hatch that you had?
You mean in the test?
Yeah. Well, exactly, in the test.
How do I do that? Okay.
Well,
So
instead of it being 6 million tokens for 9 million,
for 9,000.
we just, instead of defining, you could define the price to be relative to the hatch raise. So like if the token supply is 0.1 times the hatch raise.
The token supply is 0.1 times the hatch rate. Okay, so I just changed the numbers, right?
Yeah, you could change the numbers, or you could define the variable instead of the variable that we make constant is the token supply. We make the variable that are constants the token price and the of course the hatch raise. Like that's
easier to reason about the numbers, right?
Yeah. Easier to reason about numbers, and it also just fits what the common stack is doing.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'll make 1 million tokens with,
but token price, hatch price is what we call it, the hatch price. And then just have the total supply equals hatch raise times hatch price.
Just do the numbers first, because otherwise I need to like figure out additional code to calculate what should each hatcher's contribute.
Oh, what each hatcher's contributions be? Right now the hatcher's contribution is just, you just input it, right?
Input it, and it should match with the token supply initial.
Oh, I see. So then you'd have to add okay, I see what you're saying. Sure, that's fine. That's fine. Eventually, I think because the way cadCAD works with the agent-based modeling, it's going to be one of these things where it's going to be like a random process of how we calculate the what do you call it? How we calculate like the hatch raise. The hatch raise will be a random number. And it will be dependent on like a whole bunch of different agents and how they react to like some random processes. So it will be eventually needed that we have like a hatch token price, and then the token supply is derived off of, the aggregation of all these different agents that are participating in the hatch raise.
Oh, okay.
So and that's the thing, is this like the agent-based approach, is it's gonna require that some of these things change a little bit. But it doesn't have to change now. That's fine.
Token price, then token initial supply will be calculated from that. And I mean, this other way of determining this is an optional way, right? Or is it another layer way, or is this the way things are always going to be?
Well, it's just like in the next cadCAD sim, hatch price could be an input. It could be something that like the user has to choose.
It could be. So basically, this is a layer on top there's a layer on top of things, which would then, yeah, okay.
It's one of those very important variables that the users will want to think about, right? Like, how much are we going to sell tokens for? You know, no one's going to ever input, this is how many tokens will exist. And then like, that's just not in our flow. That's like an ICO. An ICO says how many tokens exist. We just say, what is the price going to be per token? And then let's see how much money we raise. You know, and then depending on how much money we raise, you know, because you will define what will the price be for the hatchers and what will the price be post hatch. So like the opening price.
So the post hatch price is also user determined?
It's determined in advance.
But I thought that was all determined by the curve.
What's funny is the curve is determined by the raise.
Yes.
I mean, you can kind of pick your variable, right? You can kind of pick. So like the curve ends up being, we set the kappa, you know, the invariant is the variable, right? The invariant, well, like the invariant changes based off of, like we set kappa, and then the raise is the variable, right? So it's S to the kappa over R equals invariant. And so R is the variable. And then that determines, and then we use the other variable is, we already say what the hatch price is and what the opening price is. And so that determines what the invariant should be depending on R. So it's kind of this like weird, you get to pick which variable you want to be.
Yeah, sure. That makes sense. Yeah.
And in the end, R is the main one that is discovered by having a hatch.
Yep.
And so, yeah, so then, and it makes sense, like as a user, you know, it's really attractive to be able to know I'm buying tokens at 10 cents and then everyone else will get them at 20. Right? Like, that's like, oh, yeah, I'm buying those tokens. You know, that sounds like a good